Welcome to The Right Focus, a podcast for writers, newbies, and veterans, and everyone in between. We're hosted by Emma Lee with the assistance of Remy Black and Edie Rooms, all from Writers Inc. Books. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Each episode lasts as long as it takes to fix a quick dinner, drive a short commute, or take a brisk walk. Resources and links are in the show notes. Visit us at therightfocus.blogspot.com. Now, on to this week's episode. Welcome to our third week of June and our third week of the Summer Writing Challenge. How is your challenge going? Share your progress in the comments section and hit the like button whenever you enjoy an episode. Our interview this week is with veteran writer Al Sirois, based in North Carolina, although he began writing in his home state of Connecticut. We'll conclude this episode with our check-in. However, first is our third quick tip. We've started our idea. We've prepped the background. Now we must consider the three cornerstones of story. On to our quick tip. Quick tip number 3. Character, problem, situation. The three cornerstones of story. Who are you writing about? Don't go after templates. Just launch into an event with that character. You don't have to start at the beginning or the end. Whatever is swirling in your mind, get it down. Once that scene is out, give a little thought to that character. People connect to characters they like. Develop a likable protagonist, a real person with honor and humility, dreams and goals, a bit of crazy wildness, and a whole raft of kindness. Don't forget to give that protagonist angst that can be overcome. And be certain of the peeps who go with that character. The protagonist's allies need to be likable too, especially since we might kill a couple of them off during the course of the book. Kill them? Yes, we can kill people off. You don't have to do that, of course. You can do whatever you want with your characters and stories. You can do anything. Isn't that freeing? You are in charge of your own writing. You can break the rules and follow them. You can ignore people's advice and criticisms and critiques, or revise based on that advice and criticism and critiques. It's your writing. You're in charge. I want to say that over and over. No one else can write the book in your head. You do it. Start at the end, in the middle, second chapter on, anywhere you want. Kill people off, birth new ones. The only thing that matters is that your writing gradually forms a coherent story. Oops, how do I do that, you ask? That's in the next quick tip, next week.
Good. It's a little chilly here, but nice and sunny. So, we're good.
Good, good. And you're getting your coffee, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to duck out at one point to warm it up, but
How do you pronounce your last name? I was saying
Sirois,
Sirius. Pardon?
Sirois, like
Sirois.
Illinois, Sirois.
Okay, great. And where are you based?
North Carolina.
I'm in East Tennessee.
Are you really? We're
Yeah,
virtually neighbors.
yes, virtually. All right. Talk to me about your challenges that you find with writing. How are you interpreting that word?
Challenges. Well, um, I'm not quite sure where to go with this because I had in my earlier career, I think I had a lot of challenges, but at this point, I've been writing, I'm 75. I've been writing since I was in single digits. I've been
Right.
publishing since I was 23. So it goes back over 50 years. And in that time, I have worked out a lot of issues I had, problems, challenges, whatever you want to call it. I used to, pardon me, I used to pants everything. I'd start and I didn't really know where I was going other than I had a vague idea what I wanted to do. And I don't do that anymore. I've become more efficient. So now I don't start writing until, pardon me, something in my throat. I generally now don't start writing unless I have a good outline worked out
Right.
because I can work more quickly and I have fewer fewer roadblocks. You have to excuse me. Everything's blooming here and I have
Yes.
allergies. So,
Yes. Our
ice,
parish just went away, thank goodness. And the
yeah, it's
rain got rid of
crazy.
that pollen, but then everything else has come out.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
replaced
everything's
it with a
blooming
new set
here
of
right
pollen.
now. So I love it. It's beautiful, but boy, oh
Yes.
boy. I mean, my eyes are watering and everything. It's
Mhm.
like, it's a good thing we have central air conditioning, although it's so cool today that it's not on.
Right.
So,
Right.
So anyway, getting back to challenges. I suppose some other challenges might have been while I was learning my craft, I was consciously imitating other writers. I
Mhm.
was big on Edgar Rice Burroughs and Ian Fleming because this was back in the 60s.
Right.
And Burroughs, loads of his books had been released by Ace and Ballantine
Mhm.
in new editions. So I read all of them, as many as I could get my hands on, dozens of those books. And of course, James Bond was really popular because the spy thing, the secret agent thing had come in.
Right.
So I read all the James Bond books and I was trying to write like that. And I
Mhm.
couldn't really. I mean, for one thing, I was much too young to really understand.
Mhm.
And for another thing, slavish imitation doesn't get you anywhere.
True.
So,
True.
it took me, I suppose it took me another 10 years or so to kind of shuck off those influences as much as I could. Also, in that time, I learned how to outline because I had moved from my home in Connecticut to, well, I'd moved to New Haven. I was living in Bridgeport.
Mhm.
Born in Bridgeport, lived in Fairfield, and then when I was about 24, 23, 24, I moved to New Haven, and there were other writers up there, and we all got in contact and formed a writers group, and a couple of these people had sold stuff already. Kevin O'Donnell Jr. was very well published. Mark McGarry was starting to publish. Um, and I fell in with them and we had a workshop. And so we started writing together and critiquing each other's work. And that leveled me up a lot.
Mhm.
And then basically I started doing books because they were doing books. They were writing novels. And I thought, okay, I guess I better write a novel too. So again, without really having a clear idea about how to do it, so I wrote my first novel in kind of a white heat. I just slapped everything right down on the page as fast as I could, and it worked out okay. It worked out. But subsequent books were, I had to be more thoughtful with them, and I hadn't really outlined that first book, which was called Detonator, and after that. I started outlining. My second book I wrote with my then wife,
Mhm.
collaboration, which will, with any luck, never see the light of day. And then a third one, which has been published, and then on until here we are, many, many years later, many stories, many books. And I feel pretty good about it. I mean, it's been a kind of a zigzag progression from there to here. But at this point, I'm a pretty efficient and effective writer, I think. So as far as challenges, really, it was a question of developing or having enough life experience to really be able to get into characters in a less than superficial way
Right.
with people I understood or didn't understand, and trying to work out through that kind of thing. So that's pretty much the short version of it.
Okay. I started, to back up just a little bit, I started as a plotter and then got really blocked in the middle of a book and didn't go anywhere for 3 months on it, and took a trip. And while I was on the trip, this idea came to me about a third character being a primary. And so I just pantsed a lot of those scenes. And then when I came back home, I inserted them into the book and then just trashed the outline that I had planned and finished that book out. And ever since then, I've been a pantster. So I went in the opposite direction. I have found that I lose curiosity if I plan too much. I have a really basic plan. I know where I'm going with my story. I know some high points, but I don't do any very specific planning. How much of an outline do you actually do? Do you do a sentence outline, or do you have a very detailed outline for each chapter?
Um, I try to have a reasonably detailed outline.
Mhm,
And one reason for that is because I have done a fair bit of ghostwriting,
mhm,
and it's easier to stay on schedule because sometimes I have to hit milestones. And then sometimes I receive a partial outline or a few sentences from my client. And then I feel that what I need to do is to work up a coherent outline and then pass it back and say, all right, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And so
mhm.
there'll be, a little bit of interaction there.
Right.
But even for stories, I like to write out an outline. In fact, I'm working on one now. I was asked to contribute to an anthology, and excuse me, I was asked to contribute to an anthology, and I'm working on an outline for that. Partly because once I get the outline done, I'll be able to write more quickly, and I have other projects I want to address, and
Mhm.
so I can kind of slot that in. And also, it just helps me see if there's any stumbling blocks or dead ends along the way. It's easier for stories, obviously, because it's not so much. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 pages worth of outline. For a book, I may do four, five, six,
Mhm.
depending, on the length of the book. But I like to know ahead of time how long the book is going to be and, roughly speaking, how long it's going to take me to do it. So first drafts, I don't necessarily know. I have an outline, but I don't necessarily know because as you're working, as you know, you get, oh, I can do this, or this needs to happen, or I have to move this over here. All that stuff happens. Um, but even so, I do like to have an outline. Um, I'm just trying to think. Generally speaking, I guess a book outline could be anywhere up to 10 pages, roughly, approximately. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's generally the sweet spot.
So just basically a track of where you're going
Mm.
with some ideas for each particular, I guess, scene or within a chapter. And that would basically cover you. When you're talking about doing your outline and the short stories in a book, do you juggle several projects at once, or do you focus on one project and then finish that and move to the next?
I juggle. I juggle. When I was younger, I wasn't completely sure of what I wanted to do with myself. It so
Mhm,
happens I have abilities in other arenas. I'm a pretty good artist, so I've done illustration for about as long as I've been publishing, and I'm also a musician, and I was commonly playing in bands
mhm,
and performing. So there was always a three-way pull. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And most of my work life, insofar as, salaried positions and whatnot, have been graphically oriented,
mhm,
either mostly on computers. Once I started working on computers, my first job as a computer graphic artist was in an educational software company starting around 1984. I had not even really touched a computer until then, but I was hired on as a as an animator and artist, and I loved it. I just really, really loved it. So we were working on Apple IIs and IBM PCs, with the dual disk drives.
Mhm.
So I gained a lot of experience pretty quickly, and that led me into corporate America, basically. So I've been really very fortunate in my career that I've been able to make a living doing things that I generally really like to do. And then working, working in bands on the weekends, rehearsing, working, playing on weekends, and then writing. I would commonly get up in the morning, like at 5 in the morning, and write for an hour before I went to work. And then I'd come home and I couldn't do it anymore, right? I just couldn't write it in the evening. And then on the weekends, I'd be playing in bands. So for years and years, it was a three-way thing. Um, and that went on basically until COVID hit.
Mhm.
And when COVID hit, the band I was in at the time, well, that was it. I mean,
Mhm.
we couldn't get together to rehearse,
Right.
and we couldn't do gigs, and so that was that. So that was what, geez, about maybe what 4 years ago now, and I haven't
Right.
really played. I haven't been in a band since. And in a way, it's good because I'm getting kind of old for all that. It's a lot of work. I mean,
Yes, it is.
I play drums, so it's a tremendously physical thing.
Mhm.
So you have to pack up your car, drive to the gig, unpack, set up, play and sing for 4 hours, pack up, drive home, and it's like, oh, come on. And maybe I made $100. It's like, crazy, just crazy.
Mhm.
And in 2000 and was it 2009, I had a stroke. And when I recuperated from that, I was fine, really. I was hugely lucky,
Mhm.
partly because my wife was home when it happened. I was home on a day off during the day. She was home, got me to the hospital, which was fortuitously pretty close by, only a couple of miles away.
Right.
After I recuperated, and I said to my wife, Grace, well, I should get back to work. I should find work. And she said, I don't want you to do any more corporate work
Mhm.
because it's too stressful. And I
Right.
didn't really give her much attitude about that because it was stressful.
Mhm.
And so I have been freelancing ever since. I'm basically retired, took Social Security early,
Mhm.
didn't want to, but really had no choice. So I've been doing that for now, over 10 years, 15 years.
Right.
Um, and just got lucky. So I'm not playing in bands. I do keep my hand in illustrating
Mhm.
occasionally, not nearly as much as I used to, but am still doing it. In fact, that's one of mine back there.
Oh, I like
That's,
that.
yeah. Um, so I'm pretty accomplished.
Mhm.
But these days, all I'm really doing is I'm just concentrating on my writing. It's easier. It's the least physical thing, and I don't have to go down and get all my paints out and all that nonsense. It's just too much. It's just me and my keyboard here. So that's what I'm doing, concentrating on my writing now.
Mhm. I know that when I retired, it was so wonderful to me to think that I would have more time to write instead of trying to crowd a few hours here on the weekend and maybe trying to do an hour at the end of the day when I was mentally exhausted because I was already getting up at 4:30. I was going to get up at 3:30 in the morning to write an hour. And so that was very hard for me. But there were many times that I was creatively drained, and I really could not force myself to sit down at my desk and write at the end of the day. But when I retired, I found that I lacked that. I guess it was the interaction with other people that was feeding my brain somehow. And
Hmm.
also, I had done a lot of mulling over of my writing during the course of the day so that when I came home and started writing, I had some things that I had already worked out. So not having that interaction and not having that mulling time makes it very difficult when I sit down now to write. and I have to consciously think, okay, you need to think about this story before you ever approach the desk. Do you find that that is a particular challenge for you?
Well, getting back to what you had asked before about juggling,
Hmm.
if I felt like I was having a hard time with my writing, I could always go do something else. I knew I had a band rehearsal coming up, and I knew that I had an illustration assignment due for whatever. So these things informed each other, you
Hmm.
know. And then, well, I should back up even a little bit more. My wife, Grace, is a writer also. In fact, we met in a writer's workshop. And I did writer's workshops for a long time, a couple of online ones, but also in-person ones. And those are helpful. I don't know if you're in one now or have ever been, but those are helpful
Hmm.
as long as you are in with people who know how to give a good critique, because not everybody does.
That's
Uh,
true.
but so I have people who read for me. In fact, my wife, we have collaborated and sold a few things together.
Hmm.
Um, she is a novelist primarily. She sold her first book in 2022, so
Hmm.
that was out. And it's been helpful. She's my first best critic. And
Hmm.
although I also have some other people I can bounce things off of.
Right.
So, if I get stuck, I send it out. I either call Grace over or hand her a manuscript or send it to somebody. So again, it's good. And she understands me and I understand her. Being both writers, we know what we're doing. If we're just sitting there, sometimes, we're working.
Hmm.
And it's fine. It works really well for us.
Hmm. Right. Well, Al, it has been wonderful talking to you. We've talked three times more than I was anticipating. Do you have anything that you want to promote before we finish?
Funny you should mention that. Okay, this is my first self-published book. Let's see if I can. There we go. Uh,
Before Baker Street.
Before Baker Street. Yeah, these are stories, teenage Sherlock Holmes. I
Hmm.
wrote a series of stories for Black Cat Mystery Weekly,
Hmm.
and they took all of their seven of them, and I asked the editor, Michael Bracken, if I could collect them as a book, and he said, "Sure, go for it." And in fact, he was kind enough to write me an introduction. So there's this,
Right.
and there's links to it on my website.
Right.
Again, it's my first self-published book, and my wife and I, have created a small publishing effort called Hawthorne House, with our cat Dashiell as our logo. So the next book we're going to do is going to be her book Visible Signs,
Hmm.
which was her first novel, but she got the rights back. Her publisher was really kind of screwy, so she got the rights back. We're going to publish it. She doesn't have even has rights to the cover, so we're going to do that. And I have a few of my own that I'm going to publish, but the one that's coming out in June is Imhotep and the Quest to Kush, which is the second volume of the Imhotep Chronicles. There are going to be three of those. The next book will be out in June of 26. So these are young adult books.
Right. Hmm.
And I also have sold a cozy mystery to Black Cat, which I have outlined five of these things. I've ghost written several cozies and I really enjoyed the experience. So I
Hmm.
said, I'm going to do cozies. I'll probably publish them under a pen name.
Right.
Um, but that one is going to come out sometime this year. I'm not sure when.
Hmm.
And then I will release that probably next year as a standalone. And then the other four subsequently, whenever I have time to write them. But,
Right.
you know.
So if you have your website, how are you going to attach or link the pen name to that website so that people can find that cozy related to your website?
Well, there's a page on there right now for Hawthorne House. So I'll
Right.
have links there, and,
Okay.
and I won't be specifically linking my name to it. So I'll be writing under May Stanwell or whatever it is. I don't know yet what it'll be.
Right.
So I'll have, latest from Hawthorne House, and on and on. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll take off or what. I mean, these are crazy times economically and politically,
Yeah.
and you know, you name it. It's just nuts. I've never seen anything like it.
Well,
Uh,
we're going through a major change in the way that it's very hard to do change. I know in my former career when we would do a change, it's the getting into that mindset and then making the adjustments that you need to make is extremely hard. People like their comfortable areas, and they don't like change. But change is good. I used to
Change is
tell
good.
them, yeah,
Change is
it's
good.
good. It can be nerve wracking.
Well, it's difficult when you don't know economically what is going to happen, what's
True.
happening in the stock market and all that. And here we're living off Social Security,
Hmm.
and here we hear, well, there may be impacts on that. It's like, oh boy, so who the hell knows, right? I don't mind change. I've always felt it was a good thing. I know as you get older, you're supposed to be a little more averse to it. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just a little apprehensive, let's put it that way.
A little wary.
A little
Uh,
wary.
just keeping an eye out. All right.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you so much, Al, for agreeing to this interview.
Oh, you're
Uh,
so welcome. Will you have a link to this at some point?
I will send you when I get the everything put together. I will send to you an audio and a video links um, to where it will be on YouTube,
Excellent.
and it will have my major distributor is Podbean for audio, and so I will send you that link. But you can find the right focus on Apple and Samsung and Google and iHeart and TuneIn and Spotify and all sorts of places. Um, but I'll have a way for you to get there, and I will send that.
Okay, good, because I'd like to be able to put it on my website so that people can access it.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well,
Great.
thank you, Emily, for having me. This has been
Okay.
great. I enjoyed myself tremendously.
Good. And good luck with all your YA and cozy mysteries.
Thank you.
Time for our third check in, covering June 11 to 17. 7 days means 4,949 words, 4949. And that's what we needed for this week. On June 11, 1,190 words. On June 12, 1,020 words. I had a little struggle with what I was writing on June 13 and June 14 combined for those days. I did not achieve 1,400 words. I achieved 1,360 words. June 15 was a Sunday, and on that day I had no time at all to write, except at the very end of the day when my brain was zapped. See, I knew, I told you so. I knew I would miss a day. That's the reason I write beyond the required whenever possible. June 16, 1,050 words. I stopped writing on the novella to handle newsletters for July on that day. One newsletter is 589 words. One is at 461 words. That gives me a total of 1,050 words. And yes, I count writing business as writing words. Has to be done. June 17, exactly 707 words. I tackled some ticky little biz posts and I worked on research. Remember, I'm not counting the time I worked on research. But a full morning's work at the computer should count as 707 words. That gives me, for the week, 5,327 words. Again, I've topped the goal of 4949 words. I have 14,167 words. And required at this time, I'm supposed to have 12,019 words. So I am still ahead. More missing days are coming, though. I know it, and I might fall behind if I don't get a move on. Please comment about how your summer writing challenge is going and share with us what your feelings are about this challenge, about challenges in life that prevent you writing and that interfere with your creativity. On to next week. Thanks for listening to The Write Focus, a podcast for writers at all levels, hosted by Emma Lee from Writers Inc. Books, assisted by Remy Black and Edie Runes. Our focus is productivity, process, craft, and tools. Music is licensed through Audio Jungle, called Background Music Loop. Its creator is Alexander Polishchuk, known on Audio Jungle as Plastic 3. The music comes in different iterations. Show notes and resource links for this and other episodes can be found at thewritefocus.blogspot.com. Write to us at winkbooks@aol.com when you have questions, comments, and speculations. We will try to answer you as quickly as possible. By the way, we will not mind your email address. That's rude. If you find value in our content, share with your writing friends or write a review. We're small beans here without the advertising budget of the big peeps, and you can make a difference. And whatever occurs, write on.